This is for everybody who has already met their karmic soulmate, twin flame, soulmate. And for those of you who are still thinking, who is he? Who is she? Where can I find them? So before I start, I'm going to just explain to you the spread that I have developed for this occasion. So here are the significators that I'm using for this particular reading. Remember, significators mean that this is going to be the same for every sign. The reason why I'm choosing them, it's sort of like the category that I really want to find the answers to, as if you're in a bookstore and you find a book with this title. So let me explain to you the significators that I'm choosing. The first one is Luna. Luna is going to tell me about the darkness and everything that maybe still didn't surface, maybe things that you don't know, maybe things that you should know. Then we have Solar Deity. Solar Deity is going to tell us what you should know. Maybe there is like still somewhere lingering, maybe it is too bright for you, maybe it's too close to your eyes, but you're going to realize that maybe you know that. Then we have Reason. Many of us are asking, why? That's the hardest question as a therapist and as a reader to really answer. Why? Because we people, we don't really make too much sense when it comes to love. So we're going to try to answer it within this card. Then we have the card guidance. Let's see, because it's your mirror soul, what do you need to find out about this person? If you guys still didn't read my introduction to this series, please check somewhere in this corner before you proceed, because it's going to tell you really how and what I see it. I see it as a mirror, and that's why this is called Mirror Healing Series. Then we are getting to the Tower, and the Tower is going to tell us about what needs to break. It is like always a time that certain things cannot grow anymore, and maybe they cannot grow because they're not sustainable. Maybe, you know, we need to kind of change us. Maybe they need to change. Whatever it is, we're going to discover it in this category. And the Chariot, a lovely card with pushing it forward. Where do we go? Which turn do we take? And then let's check the significance of all of this. Two of Chalices. Is there a kiss that is going to happen? Or what at this point of time is karma telling us? So, guys, shall we start? Hi Taurus, this is Kat, and welcome my friends to your August September twin flame reading. So let's see what you have on the baseline. You have release your ex, the time has come to clear our energy. But you also have honeymoon, enjoy the bliss of holiday time together. Now seemingly that can be opposite, right? How can you kind of like go downstairs and upstairs at the same time? This card to me always talks about many layers of past, let's say, injustices that we have received. Sometimes we kind of have that list, you know, this, I'm not going to repeat that kind of a guy. And then we have that on the list. And then the new person or new kind of like relationship brings something else. And the list starts to grow. Next thing you know, it's just like, oh my God, nobody really measures up. The truth is that everybody comes in certain kind of like configuration, and we have to learn how to differentiate really kind of like no deal from deal kind of things. Certain things can be modified, but certain things can't be modified. So this is actually asking to kind of clean that slate, kind of like to clear it, clear the energy, kind of like understand, okay, just pick 5 non-negotiables. Fine, kind of 5 of them would make a line in the sand. I shall not cheat, I should know, kind of like neglect the family, etc., right? Because honeymoon also to me is a card of warning. Honeymoon to me always talks about, sure, we are flying on the wings of love, but when we do, we try to accommodate way too much. We try to kind of like really blend with this person. And having that, like, pink colored glasses on, which kind of like gives everything in a kind of like different hue. This kind of like to me is like the beginning stage, which actually is very important because it kind of like creates moments that we can fall back to later in a relationship if kind of like we get into trouble. That's why we're saying good and the bad, right? But honeymoon still tells that there is like still kind of like attitude about going forward. Now, combining this with the Three of Wands over here, maybe it's indicating that by releasing your ex, you're able to trust again. You're able to kind of like be that bubbly and flirty and beautiful and everything that you really can be. You have here Three of Wands. In this particular deck, we see this dancer dancing under the sun or the star, whatever this kind of represents, right? And obviously she's in her belly dancing, totally encompassed into what she's doing. She has those three lotuses in addition to these three wands, and they're kind of like opening up to her song. So this is definitely talking about some kind of like achievement, right? So there is like development of the thing. So here something came reversed, something kind of like doesn't have the point anymore, something just like you feel, well, yeah, I wanted to go in that direction, but now I really don't want to go in that direction anymore. Kind of like losing enthusiasm, losing faith, because three is always about creativity, it's always about expansion. But in this case, I more or less see it as quite the opposite. Not necessarily the card that comes reversed is the opposite, so keep that in mind. But here is definitely telling me that something is, the sun is setting on something, and something that, you know, has been shining bright at one point, maybe needs to be kind of like put aside, relegated, and maybe even possibly entirely released. So let's see what is hidden for you. Wow, you have mature men, the sun, and Prince of Wands reversed. Well, this can be a woman as well. The sun is always the card to me. Again, we have a very similar sun, just like in this thing. It's about children, it's about births, it's about marriages, it's about commitment. And Prince of Wands is like that really phenomenal. I mean, both of them are Leos in this deck, so I don't know if you're dealing with a Leo, guys, if you have this issue, but also I can see dealing with Aquarius over here. So it's kind of like weird. The mature thing is saying that something that you didn't know, that the mature thing was to kind of like step away from this whole involvement, because maybe somebody was losing enthusiasm about all of that. And then again, we'll go back to this honeymoon, because people sometimes expect, oh my gosh, we're going to be always in love, we're always going to hold hands. The truth is, like, this love goes from that huge kind of like peak actually really down, and that's when this becomes more solid and stronger than kind of like being stretched. It's like a rubber band. It's actually stronger when it's like not all outstretched. This is kind of like telling me that something has been kind of like a complete burnout, and maybe somebody didn't want to admit it, but it kind of like somebody has lost an enthusiasm about that, or maybe enthusiasm about going in a very serious direction with you. And this could be, but I think this is hidden from you. And in a sense, this is mature. It is mature if, you know, it's being said. Like, I mean, instead of wasting your time for 3 more years, and when you kind of end up in the square one, then it takes you longer to repair yourself and continue. Now, let's see what has been out in the open. And as you can see, like, a whole bunch of cards were coming out. So now you have occupation, 10 of Cups, the Hanged Man, and Prince of Pentacles reversed. It sounds to me, Taurus, that some of you are so disillusioned with everything. You kind of like really had your tangent. You really knew where you were heading. You kind of like, I really see the marriage kind of like was really important, and that emotional fulfillment. but somebody kind of like, I think, stopped it and said it's not about marriage. That's kind of the easiest thing to put a ring on a finger. But then how do we go from there, right? Because now you had the Prince of Wands, and now you have the Prince of Pentacles. So it looks like somebody kind of like put you in the friend zone. Something, it was kind of like maybe just slowly growing apart, slowly growing distant, and it just like looks like that somebody was putting on a brave face and continuing and hoping things will actually work out. But a hangman is always like situation when somebody says, okay, let me think about it, let me think about it. And even if they're like the most positive in that situation, when they think through it, and the thinking through it means, okay, you know, how does it look like from their situation? And this is why some people really decide to break up with others when somebody tells them they love them, because it's kind of like realization, hey, I'm not on the same page, and I really don't think I will ever get there. And it's kind of like where things are pushed into that area. It almost looks like that way. There has been some kind of conversation about that, and it has to be, there isn't some kind of impasse or stalemate, and it's kind of like really hard to kind of like land on the feet, because I think this person had a dual role, both the friend and energizer in your life, and kind of like it feels like really destabilizing right now. And at the same time, you're really fully turning to your work. But this card also can mean like, trying to figure out how to make this work, and trying to figure out how you can actually turn this on. So let me see the reasons over here. And that would be you, the Empress, and the High Priestess, and the community. Oh boy, I'm really hoping this is not what I think it is. Could it be that you have been dating somebody who liked to date you? Just what I see here. Really like to date you, really like to come over and have a booty call. But when they had to kind of like come and fix your chandeliers, they were always busy. They always had some other things to do. And some of you looks like you are mothers, or some of them you are nurturers with a child possibly. And that kind of like brought additional obligations to the table. And you see, you have both community and the Empress, and the Empress is like really kind of like understanding what has to take place. It's a very kind of like feminine principle, where you're not giving like kind of like school of hard knocks to basically the people around you. Instead, even if people are completely wrong, you still give them shoulders to kind of like cry on. And High Priestess is secret, is some kind of like secrets, or it could simply be mother and daughter in this particular situation. The High Priestess is reversed, so this also can mean that there was something that was holding back of kind of connecting this together. Maybe, you know, because the High Priestess is also somebody who is silent. She's just really watching. You see, she has from Alpha to Omega, which was the Greek alphabet. That kind of like would be Amazon, from A to Z kind of a thing. But it didn't work this way. Certain things went backwards. I don't know, maybe this person was feeling not accepted or not welcome. Community definitely feels that somebody is finding to be square peg in the round hole, kind of like, you know, not willing or capable to kind of like feel or see themselves in that situation. You know, when you go for a job interview, kind of like you totally know when you're getting the job. It's kind of very rarely surprised, I would say, especially for the higher end positions, because you start seeing that you are gelling with these people. You start seeing that you're like thinking the same thing and speaking the same thing. And here it just like looks like you're at the odds, and it happens. People even marry, and it just like never feels like you're belonging to basically the other family, but it kind of like it still keeps going. Sometimes people make it on the sheer will. So let's see the guidance that you have. And actually this is lovely. And again, you're getting like lots of kind of coming back to work. It looks like you're looking for the refuge at work. But toil and labor, in this particular deck, it's talking about this late 18th century, early 19th century capitalism, where this type of labor, and you see this like a kitty cat also right here. Yeah, you're at Cat Tarot. Of of course I have to notice details like that. This kind of like labor, guys, was torturous, and it was long hours, and it was very low pay, and women get that today, a very kind of like short end of stick, but back then it was like even worse. And the injury was like really, really high, not to basically say the health issues that have been connecting with it. So this definitely to me spells that, you know, maybe you're repairing yourself, and it's kind of like hard work, and it's kind of like needing to get the truth. This kind of like Princess of Swords is like definitely kind of like wondering kind of like what was the truth over here, because look at her here. She's growing this sword that kind of like almost looks transparent, so from the lotus, so opening up kind of like to probably your own truth, opening up to what really has happened. It's kind of interesting that right after this it's the Eight of Wands, and Eight of Wands to me is like about expansion. It's about the communication. In this deck, it's a little bit different. In this deck is like to fine-tune certain things, because look, he has the Four of Wands below, Four of Wands above, and he's trying to have this jump right in the middle kind of a thing, right? So it's kind of like seizing a moment, I would say. The guidance is like, you know what, like, I mean, you deserve the truth. You want to know the truth, you can't handle the truth, you know, you can handle the truth. You want your truth, because this is also 11, and 11 is the healing card. 11 is basically a card of Aquarius. This also is basically Aquarius, Princess of Swords. So the air element over here and the fire element is telling me that, I mean, your earth element, you kind of like usually tend to be grounded, or kind of like make sure that things around you are solid, right? Your well-being, like both physical and financial well-being, is very important. You see, to the fire signs and to the air signs, that's not as important. In fact, that's going to be probably relegated, and you will go, oh my god, right? But this kind of like, it's that understanding of what took place, because people are going to pride themselves for being smart. So if you tell me that I'm pretty, I'll say, okay, thanks. But if you tell me I'm smart, it's ooh, right? So to the fire people, I kind of like how you interact in activities. So each of us have triggers, right? So you guys kind of like take good care of the home. So this is telling me kind of like wedging yourself in it, something that maybe you had to let go of, that was a goal that maybe you kind of are still holding. We keep going throughout life with that baggage, and that baggage really kind of like needs to go. It's kind of like really, really important to almost like spread your wings and fly. This is a very, very important card over here that I see. So let me see what can be, you know, a blind spot over here for you. And interestingly, look, we have Nine of Wands and Queen of Cups and Coffin. Now, this is interesting. We see Queen of Cups, not you. Because this was like trying to find that exit out, but this is such a positive way of going through it. Nine of Wands is like really fighting for it. It's kind of like fighting for your own victory. You kind of like feel it. Look at the determination, you can see it. But interesting thing here is like we have, you see, a little snake, like cobra, mini cobra, and then we have the lion over here. But the man, and almost like these wands over here, like almost like transparent, right, as we saw it here with that sword. So this man is here in between the snake and the lion. So snakes are generally in decks, and especially in this deck, representing wisdom, right? And this one is in particular Kundalini snake, and I don't know how much you know, these are like those seven regular chakra centers that kind of like need to kind of like be in alignment. So needs to kind of like align different aspects of your life. So that's why not a big surprise that you're going both in the water and in the air and fire. You kind of like are trying to figure out all these little details of your life. Again, You need to release something that you're still very, very emotional about. You see, that's kind of like this lunar aspect over here is taking me back to the moon card. I mean, she has the Pisces over here. Queen of Cups is talking about some kind of seduction, or somebody who is like very sultry, and somebody who can be very romantic. But Queen of Cups reverse can be highly manipulative. She can be manipulative, very unlike those villains in the movies. It's kind of like, you know, with tears and, you know, me victim kind of like stories and that kind of stuff. And I think there is like this understanding that certain things have to be placed to rest. Whether you were pushed into a situation to be completely out of your element, or, you know, somebody else placed you, it's kind of like really, really immaterial over here. But maybe you're going to even have conversations with somebody. Maybe you're going to be reaching out to someone, and somebody reaches out to you, and then you're going to be told, well, you know, I just like think you're a drama queen. I just like think that, you know, you can open your tabs at kind of like any point. But what is also very important over here to see is that we do have this rose in the stained glass. It's saying like it's not everything that is lost. There are like still certain memories that can be kept. So now this Kundalini means that you really need to attend to your own healing, to whatever you're going from this point. It's kind of really important for you to, well, let's call it win, because like the lions, and like, look, we keep having lions over here and here and here. There are a few other cards as well, so it's unless you have a lion person who is like standing behind you, watching you, etc., etc. I really think, to me, this more represents the strength. It kind of like represents, again, just like what you had it over here, ability to feel strong, to understand what you have, to enjoy what you have, and understand that if somebody cannot take you the way you are and the package deal that you come, well, it's not going to work anyway. Sure, you can modify yourself to some extent, but that's not going to happen overnight, same as the other person is not going to modify for you overnight either. So let's see where this is going. Oh my gosh, this is actually really lovely pathway. So there is this exit. There is like, you kind of like snitched a little crack, door cracked open, and it was just this light that was like showing up, you know, like you had the sun, kind of like this burnout. Now we have the sun in the clouds, but look at that, that all we can see is that truth, that focus. Now Temperance is really interesting. Temperance is saying that we need to kind of like reconcile certain things in us. You know, sometimes we have two seemingly opposite things that we hold at the same time, right? So whatever it is, right? Like, I mean, you know, let's say being religious and not being religious. It's kind of like very, very difficult to actually be both at the same time. So Temperance talks about that kind of like she is making you kind of moderate that. She is making you be patient with yourself and allow yourself that kind of like path to take place. This card is actually lovely because look at all these butterflies. You are actually really releasing something, and by releasing, by seeing this kind of like end, it's like such a huge energy that is coming through for certain things to happen. And maybe it's going to take patience to get there. Maybe it's going to take you know, some hope in things getting better. But this also is telling me that, you know, by understanding the exit is there, that exit is possibly the best place to be right now, because you had a 9 here and you're switching back to 1. So this is kind of like giving you this possibility of this new start. Just don't close this door. The door is open. You just have to walk right through it. And it might be kind of like, you might be actually surprised that this keeps telling you that you need to ask her certain questions, because like somebody's maturity was in question over here. So this is always about demanding truth, talking about truth, and also about being victorious. And this is a really, really fast card, and it's also on the category Chariot, which is also very fast. So something might come so fast to you that is going to require of you to have maybe a more gentle kind of like approach to the situation, or more moderate approach to the situation, not to hold your ground as much as kind of like, let's see where this goes. So let me just confirm this Ace of Swords and see where this takes me. Ace of Swords. And then I get a butterfly again as over here. It's probably something is being lifted off your shoulders, some kind of like burden, some you know, it looks like it has been some kind of dead end that you have been going through left and right, and these dead ends were really difficult for you because you felt lost at some point. But this, no more, guys, no more tears, no more tears. So what is talking about this relationship? Look, adjudication, death, and Nine of Swords. Oh boy, I guess some of you are really legally divorcing, and hence there is like still ongoing pain, because that is kind of like resurfacing all the problems, all the issues. You did that. So it's not only that you felt, you know, it was bad enough when I was going through it, but now you keep feeling this is kind of keep going, because this is really talking about unnecessary suffering and not looking for a cover when you kind of like had to. See, the snaky was not such a good snaky as kind of like the Kundalini snake that we had over here. Because you see, that's something that was going to happen. Something good is going to happen, a result out of a very bad situation. Because here, look, this building is crumbling, your life is crumbling, like these swords are like from all over the place. So this is definitely talking about war, you know, War of the Roses kind of a thing. But look at here, this bunker, wherever this one actually has the door open. And even though it's kind of collapsing as well, and we see also the airplane behind that having this air attack, it kind of like feels like there is like no place to hide over here. And this kind of like, look at this piercing right in the middle of him. It's really, really painful. And this is now in the head and in the heart. So maybe somebody brought this process of separation or process of because it's also this transformational kind of quality that is kind of like affecting really just like this temperance that I've seen over here. But this one is really saying that it is really, really hard for you to let go. Oh mine, like this is kind of like, if it's not hurting you in your heart, it is like in your head, kind of like you're kind of like wondering, staying up at night, and kind of like sometimes you get lost in the process and asking yourself why. It is kind of like really strange, because I do see that you are really asking the right questions. The question is if you ask those right questions at the right time, because you see, this is usually the card of direction, of looking the new horizons, of my ship cards, friendships, relationships, kind of partnerships. Sometimes we want that one person to be everything, and some people are not designed that way. Probably, actually, most people are not designed that way. So this is kind of like really coming to the fore that there was like this process kind of going, and somebody was pushing this process. The process was going nowhere. Process was saying, look, somebody was really halting this whole thing. And you know, it's like one of those things that I see that somebody stepped on the brake, and when you step on the brake, the car is still sliding, and sometimes it doesn't stop in time and just like hits the object. And something like this looks like happened over here, where I really don't think it was kind of like that you were misled. I really don't see that, even though I'm sure there's going to be quite a few of you kind of like writing me in the notes, hey, I have not been told the truth. This is more or less telling me that this is actually brewing for a while. It's kind of like no communication. Yes, I'm thinking about you, but you know, I need to think through it, and then nothing comes out of it. And then, you know, feeling really helpless is kind of like a key over here. So what is karma saying? Well, karma is saying Six of Cups and Ace of Wands reversed. So we have the second ace. You see, this is about the truth. This is about clarity. This is about being on point. This is kind of like to reach these kind of like two things. Maybe sometimes you kind of like have to stop staring at the sun, right? Where look, this is nothing but the sun over here in this card. So maybe somebody dazzled you like with their greatness. You have the sun symbol really, really happening on all these crucial cards over here. And maybe you kind of like look straight into the sun and you didn't see many things that were going on. But needless to say, you're feeling really at a loss. There is like this person that you are really, really missing. And you're kind of like really not seeing, I mean, there is like no new beginning. The Ace of Wands will be those new beginnings, second tries. But you see, this is supposed to push around. This is supposed to turn around. But I think you're realizing that there's lots of kind of like stuff going on there where, you know, maybe you're holding things for too long, and maybe you just have to simply just, you know, grin your teeth and say, okay, it is what it is. Let me kind of face the music and start my healing. So let me check these two, this ace, because this one was definitely talking about, you know what, this is your time to uplift. Everything about this is uplifting, even though I'm telling you this is not going to happen. You guys probably know all these things for quite a while and are really dedicated to actually accept yourself. And I think that kind of was something that got in the way, that you felt that you had to kind of stretch yourself too thin on all sides. But in the end, I think the reason won, and you said, hey, I'm first and foremost, I am this person, I need to nourish myself and, I don't know, my kids. And then if other people are not nourishing me and this whole project called me and around me, that's all I can do. I cannot make anybody do anything. So it's sometimes sad, but life goes on. So what is that Ace of Wands for Taurus over there? Ace of Wands for Taurus. And again, the prison and the misfortune kind of like came reversed, because these cards are really much different when they're reversed. Misfortune actually is even worse when it's like reversed. That's like the Tower card, and it's saying that with this person there's going to be, it's the only time that there is no turbulence for some reason is like when we're not together, because this is telling me getting out of marriage, getting out of jail card, right? The prison card. That's why this vase is over there saying, you know, there is like something, a spirit. You still can retain your spirit in spite of the bad situation. And I guess the way it is right now, it just like feels bad. It's in the middle of repair and it's kind of like blood everywhere kind of a thing. And it's open wound that I can feel. So there is this hope, I guess, for honeymoon. It's hope, hey, we can kind of come back together and everything will be fine. But at the same time, things are kicking in, and you will not just cluelessly just jump into this relationship just to have it. You will actually really ask questions that you need to ask in order to see if this actually even would be productive. So I really think the answers you get are not going to be the answers you're going to like. It's going to be really, really painful. Truth hurts, but the truth also allows us to heal, and that's what's going to come out. That's what's going to be good coming out of it. So Taurus, I'm going to pick one more card for you, but you know, this is a general reading and it doesn't have to be you. So to get your information and kind of more kind of about you, you can contact me at cattarot.ca for a private reading, and that's completely different than the general reading. So let me see, one more card for Taurus. Taurus for their twin flame. And you have happy, happy. Something that needs to be unlocked. So this is good. Because actually I'm seeing this, even though it's going to be down in the trenches, I do see that your ego is waking up. Your kind of like sense of confidence is coming here and saying, look, you know, I am not wrapping myself around you, kind of a thing. So I'm glad to see this card. It's very encouraging. Okay, this is what it says. This is a time to take pride in your accomplishments. You're doing good work, providing exceptional service, and are well compensated for it. The world rains gratitude upon you, and you're happy with the results of your efforts and creativity. Isn't it amazing to consider all that you have done? Remember your partnership with Spirit in this moment too. Your soul has always known you could accomplish anything if it brought you joy. You know, I think that here the key I see over here is like a key in this creation, because you had this kind of creation here and creation over here, like finding what makes you happy, finding by releasing this eggs. It almost looks like those kind of like balloons are actually release of something that is no longer supposed to be there. But look, she's not looking toward there anymore. She's actually looking toward a new beginning. So which would be possibly the most positive way anybody can think, and just saying, look, I'm going through hell, but you know what, I'm looking to the light at the end of the tunnel, which you kind of like did have, right? It's kind of like this team keeps telling you, you need to kind of bury things, you need to kind of let go. But guys, even though you're going to this like shadow of the death, you're actually coming to see the light, and the light will be at the end of the tunnel, but you still have to cross the tunnel first. So my dear Taurus, I would love to hear your comments. I would like to see how is your month of August and September going, and if you're still here and you haven't subscribed, please press this button, and so you can get invitations from my live sessions. Thanks so much, guys. I love you, and hope to hear from you soon.